I know we still have some people coming in, but I think we want to honor the timelines and we're going to start. I think we can clearly say, just looking around the room, it's standing room only. So hopefully we'll find seats for everyone. Welcome to everyone this evening and to all the people that are tuning in online as well. This tells a lot about this community. This tells us that we are an engaged community and that we have concerns. And so Sarnia Police Service Board, we're very, very pleased to be able to sponsor this evening and provide a forum for people to talk about these things. And by the way, I should have introduced myself. My name is Paul Wiersma, and I'm the chair of the Police Service Board in Sarnia. So we've had several of these town hall events over the past couple years, and we have found them to be very, very successful in terms of really trying to engage with the community. And I think this evening, well, and I'll just start by saying, we had invited questions for this evening. We received about 25 of those questions. And what I want to do is just share some of the things that people are saying. So this one came in this afternoon, and this person writes, I have volunteered many years for the Imperial Theatre, and we generally leave the theater at least 1/2 hour after most patrons leave. With so many drug users being in the downtown core now, is there going to be any extra security for us to walk to our vehicle? This is very, very similar to many of the comments that we've received. People are concerned about their personal safety, they're concerned about their personal property, and people want us as a community to take action. So we're pleased as a Sarnia Police Service to be able to engage in this conversation. As you can see on the agenda, those are some of the topics that we want to be able to deal with tonight. We're also looking forward to some of your feedback, some of your questions as well. So as we start this evening, just want to make a few introductions. So behind me here, to my immediate left, is our new Deputy Chief, Ron Hansen. And next to him is our Chief, Derek Davis. Sorry, Derek. And next to him is our new Acting Deputy Chief, and that's Mike Fusickle. And next to him is our Vice Chair of the Board, Kelly Ash. In addition, we're very, very pleased to have several of our city councillors here this evening. And so I would just note the presence of Chrissy McRoberts, of Brian White, of Bill Dennis. And if I missed anyone, please let me know. And Anne-Marie Gillis, thank you. So important for our elected officials to be able to hear this discussion this evening. So we thank them for participating. And then I would just ask, are there any other elected officials or community leaders here this evening? And if there are, then I would just ask that you can make yourself known a little bit later. You can come up to the mic when we have the question and answer period and also provide your feedback. All right, just a few acknowledgements as we begin. Thank you to David Burrows for live streaming this event. So very much appreciate that. And I don't know about you, but how amazing it is to be back in this facility. Is it great to be in this facility? Yes. And so this is now the Royal Skits Academy. And so we have Devin Vosberg, who from Royal Skits is just going to say a couple of things.
Hello, everybody. If you didn't see me earlier, I was running around with a billion chairs because you guys are so amazing and there's 100 more of you than we thought there were. So thank you. We want to first thank the Sarnia Police for hosting your event here. We really appreciate that. Louder. Got it. I can speak louder. Okay, so thank you, Sarnia Police, for hosting your event here. As Royal Skits Academy, we are new, but we really want to take this building and what it means in this community and bring it back to life. Bring it back to the community, give back to the community, and just be a part of the community. So you're gonna see us more involved, putting on events. We wanna welcome people to come into the building, kinda to be nosy, see what we're doing. And eventually we're gonna have a school full of kids here as well. So again, thank you to everyone who is here for coming to ask these guys a bunch of questions, learning about what our community is doing, and if you guys ever have any questions about Royal Skits Academy, we are here. Never hesitate to reach out, and that's it. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. All right, so just a couple more housekeeping items. There are washrooms behind me there. You can also access them from the hallway. And also, just wanted to note that, yes, okay. We're going to start off with about a 10, 15, 20-minute presentation, but then we want to open it up for questions. There is a mic here at the front here that we're going to ask that you use, and we're really looking forward to a fantastic evening. So I'm going to turn it over to our chief, Derek Davis.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for coming, everyone. This is, when you set these up, you never know how it's going to go. We didn't know if we'd have a few people or many, so it's great to see everyone here. There's a couple of things we just wanted to knock off the top of the list as we get started, and then we're going to get into some of, I think, what the meatier discussion is in regard to the encampments and some of the challenges we face as police. This conversation is really intended to help us convey where we are as a police service, what we are doing, if there's ways for us to do better, and some of the difficulties we face as your police service in the community safety challenges that we have and you share. So this is really an opportunity for us to let you know what some of the hurdles that we're trying to overcome, what we've done so far, and then hopefully for some of that feedback if we need to adjust and how we do things, and that's something that we're quite willing to do. As you know, the Sarnia Police over the last couple of years, we are very much open to the communication component, sometimes to our own detriment perhaps, but what we want to be is we want to be accountable to you, and we want to be able to make sure that you've got the information you need to make the decisions that you need to make. So this is really coming from a police perspective as we go through this, so there's a couple of things that we'll go through. So let's go to the first one. So we'll start off with a really easy one. One of the things that we read social media, as everyone here does, it's a very exciting thing to follow, and there's lots of interesting information there. One of the challenges we get is why the pickup trucks. So in 30 seconds, the pickup trucks are there because they're cheaper. They're cheaper than the Explorer, they last longer, the body style doesn't change, and that means that all the equipment you see there, when that truck wears out, we can put it in the next truck. So they're not there because they're expensive or fancy or shiny, they're there because they're economically, they make sense. And under the Community Safety and Policing Act, there's only 4 vehicles we can choose from because they have to meet certain standards under the law, and this is one of them. So because it's such a high volume, personal vehicle, it's been approved for police use, and that's what we do. It's not, all that's on the side is stickers. It's a black truck from the factory, it's equipped with the equipment, stickers are up, and it's there because it makes the absolute most sense for the work we need our officers to do and for how we can be as efficient as possible with the equipment that we have to put in these things. When they change body styles, you have to change the prisoner cage in the back, you have to change the way things get wired, it costs a lot of money. So when we made the decision to switch largely to these types of vehicles, it's because we wanted to get the most value from the equipment that we could. So that's myth number 1. Let's go to the least fun one next. This is the question that comes up is about termination of police officers. So one of the things I will say as chief is we are very open when one of us does things they shouldn't do. We put that out publicly, as uncomfortable as that is for us. That's something I think it's important to be transparent about, and that's something we do follow through on. One of the questions that comes from the community very often across the province is, why don't police officers get fired? What are you able to do? And what I'm going to tell you, I put the link up there and you can look it up later. We are governed by the Community Safety and Policing Act. Police officers hold an office, they carry a lot of authorities, and because they carry those authorities, they have some protection under the law. Let me explain a little bit further. The reason we can't go right to firing like private business is because police officers have to make critical decisions about people's lives, about life and death, about who to arrest. So there's a structure in place to prevent essentially them being ordered to do things that they shouldn't otherwise do, where they can say, I'm not going to, and then they have the protection under law to have a hearing and have due process. Where that kind of kicks back is when an officer does do something wrong, and we know it's something wrong, we still have to follow the same process. So here's how it works when we boil it down. If an officer was to commit a criminal offense, for example, the options as chief are I can suspend with pay, and depending on the case, I can suspend without pay. The philosophy of the Sarnia Police is police are humans as well as anyone else is. If there is an opportunity for someone, if they're going to collect a paycheck, our first priority is to have them at work doing some work functions, so that's number one. And if we have to suspend alternatively, then that's what we go for. If there's a criminal charge, we start our investigation under the Police Act and the Community Safety and Policing Act while the criminal charges are going before the courts. So we have to wait. And courts, as you may well know, take some time. So we start our discipline investigation, but we have to wait for those court cases to finish because we're not allowed to do anything until they're done. So we start ours, we wait for court to go. When court's over, then we start up again, and then we can do whatever we need to do. If an officer is going to lose their job, which is possible, as you can see in the fine print there, it basically boils down to the chief has to start an investigation under a part, have to have reasonable grounds to believe they've committed an offense, and the appropriate discipline has to be termination. So when there's a big range, that's the one that has to be there. And then, if we want to fire, we have to apply to the commission to have a hearing, which is like a pseudo trial, to see if the penalty will be termination. So I just want everyone to know that the Sarnia Police isn't avoiding these issues. We are literally following what we have to do in terms of the Community Safety and Policing Act. Doesn't mean we agree, doesn't mean we wouldn't want to go a different way sometimes, but we have to follow what the rules are. I just wanted to explain to everybody why it takes so long. We're as frustrated as you are sometimes. We'd like things to come to a conclusion. Even for those that are exonerated, we'd like that to speed up. But it is what it is, and that's why it's there. So I just wanted to answer that, if that helps a little bit on why things are the way they are. We're going to start to move into a little bit of the community safety piece. The City of Sarnia, as you know, is working on their strategic plan. It may have been approved. I'm not sure where it is in the timeline. But do understand that safer community is one of the pillars of the city's strategic objectives. So as the Sarnia Police Service, we know that as your police service, one of our functions is to support the City of Sarnia's strategic objectives, which is a safer community. We're not the only group that contributes to that, but that's a big part of our wheelhouse as the safe community component. So we understand that in terms of how the city's going to function, we're a partner in the municipal success of the City of Sarnia, and then we have a role to play too. Next slide. One of the challenges we face geographically is we're a hub city, and for those that have been to other town halls, you'll know that we've mentioned this before. All the services really are in the City of Sarnia, and that draws people from inside the county to come to the city. So we have while our population is static residentially, we do have a lot of influx of people coming for services, coming to visit, coming for shopping, whatever that is. And you folks, as the taxpayer, and us as the police service, we police all the folks that come within the boundaries. So that all has to come together. So not everyone comes from here per se, but we do have an influx with all the services being located centrally in the City of Sarnia. So it's something to remember as we're talking about challenges facing police. In particular, social services are all primarily located in the City of Sarnia. We've talked about Crime Severity Index. All this to say, the Crime Severity Index is based on a calculation that Stats Canada does. It talks about different types of crime, different types of sentences. There's a whole bunch of different factors, and it basically produces a scorecard. We are up significantly over last year. The chart, I know it's hard to see, but the trend line is the crime severity is going up, meaning you're experiencing more serious crimes, and the police service is investigating and dealing with more serious crimes. It is what it is. These things go up and down, but the trend nationally is higher, and we're seeing the same trend within our city that the serious crimes are up. Crime severity overall is up 10% over last year, 24% up 24% since 2022. Nonviolent crime is up 4.42 since 2022, and the overall crime rate is up almost 20% since 2022. So when we talk about a police service, you're talking about a 10 to 20% increase in just crimes, never mind all the other issues. And as an agency, we don't expand and contract very quickly. It takes years to build capacity to meet this workload demand. And right now we're on kind of the low end of being able to meet the demands that are there, but we're doing what we can. And this is part of what we want to be able to explain to folks tonight. Next one. To give you an example of the workload our officers face, so this is a chart. The yellow is day shift and the darker color is night shift. These are the number of events per day back to January 1st. So the chart goes on the left, January 1 all the way to September 2nd. Our officers deal with an average of 94 events a day. So divided in half if you want, 37 events per shift. If we talk about how many police constables are on the road every day, like I realize you might look at the numbers and say there's 130 police officers in the city of Sarnia, and then you start to break that down. You've got a criminal investigations division, you've got the impact team, you've got traffic, and then those numbers start to dwindle. On the road, and we don't normally talk about this level of operational detail, but on the road, we're talking about 10 officers at any given time, 10. Of those 10, one is a staff sergeant in the station, in charge of the station. They don't go out because they got everything to deal with inside, prisoners and everything else. 2 of those 10 are supervisors, and their job is to make sure that all the complexities of the job that the constables go to are addressed. They're the backstop, the insurance, make sure we do things right, make sure things are proper. That's what the supervisor's job is. They also do make arrests, they also lay charges, but their primary function is supervision, leaving 7 constables on a good day on the road at any given time. So 94 events a day on average, divided by 2 groups of 7 constables is what we're dealing with. And each event is not the same. Like, it's not an F-150 factory. We don't know how long the windshield takes. One of those could be a murder. One of them could be a noise complaint. We don't know. So some of those events take hours and multiple people. Some of them take one officer, 10-minute phone call. But that's the volume that we're dealing with in terms of when the people say, what do the Sarnia Police do all day? They are largely on the road responding to calls. What that doesn't show is all the follow-up in the background. It doesn't show the court prep, the criminal investigations, all the follow-ups, all the other specialized units. This is just calls. This is, you call the non-emergency or you call the 911 line, this is that immediate output. So that's the call volume the officers are dealing with. And this is some of our challenge when it comes to response time. So if we added 10 officers every day, we could drop response times down, but we have to strike a balance between the cost of the taxpayer, the safety of the community. So this is where we struggle. There's high call volume. We're deploying every available officer that we can in terms of frontline work. And this is some of the challenges that we're facing, and these are Sarnia numbers. So this is for 2024. Criminal charges, just to give an example, so this is just criminal charges, this is not traffic, this is none of those other things, are up 26% year to date compared to the same period last year. So we're up 26% in criminal charges. The officers that are around this room are out there working incredibly hard. And that's part of the reason we're here to convey. Of those charges, if you look at our top ones, one of the top ones we have is failed to comply with probation. Next is failure to comply with a release order, followed by theft, followed by assault. Probably no surprise to anyone in this room, and certainly no surprise to those of you that live in some of our more challenging communities. You know who you are. But these are the things that you're dealing with all the time, and these are the things that we're dealing with all the time. The recidivism problem is big, and the ability for us to pick up those folks that cause a disproportionate amount of crime as an individual are the ones that are causing us the majority of the problems. And we see that in our numbers. So we've changed quite a few things in how we do business over the past 2 years, and Deputy Vansel is going to speak a little bit about that in a moment. But I want you to know that this is the type of work that the officers are doing. If there's a chance to lay a charge, they're laying it, they're not avoiding it. But I think everybody knows, certainly in the South End, there's no shortage of charges to be laid, and there's only so many officers to go around. So we're trying to prioritize, but one of our focuses is on those repeat recidivist offenders that cause those problems. Next slide. I'm going to flip this one over to Mike to talk a little bit about some of the historical practices. So this is catch and release. So Deputy Chief Vansicle will speak to some of the historical, because he's been here his whole career, which is great. So he's going to give you a little background on where we're at in terms of prisoner custody and some of the arrest practices. Yes. If there's one over here, we're armed, we have security here. That was part of the planning for the event. So we're prepared. Yep. If someone steps in and does a problem, I'm going to say they've probably got about 10 feet to make it, and then they're going to be addressed. If they're fast. We don't have security around. In this room tonight, I will tell you, are a bunch of our administrative staff who aren't paid to be here. We have a bunch of volunteers who aren't even working that are police officers. They're here tonight, and there's a lot of them in plain clothes. I won't point them out because of their fashion sense, but they're all there's a lot of officers in this room.
Thanks, Chief. One of the biggest frustrations that police officers face kind of mirrors what you face as members of the community. It's the frustration in dealing with the same people over and over again. So catch and release for us is a massive problem. We're frustrated by the fact that we deal with an individual, we try to help the victim of a crime, we put them before the courts, and then within hours, days, sometimes minutes, if you followed my Twitter account a couple of years ago, you would know that we're dealing with these same people over and over again. And as police officers, what that creates is a sense in us that makes us question what we're doing. And we're going like, what's the point? And nothing's gonna happen to them anyway. And so when Chief Davis came to town, that's one of the first things that we wanted to address, was dealing with the recidivism, dealing with the crimes that are a nuisance to our quality of life. And the unfortunate thing that we're facing is the catch and release problem. And just to give you a little bit of background on what catch and release is, similar to fishing, you catch the fish, deal with it, throw it back, and it's back in the pond. And so if the city's the pond, we got a lot of fish. So what happens is we have to make an objective decision as police officers. When we deal with somebody who's been arrested for an offense, we need to decide what the release is going to be. We can hold them for bail and put them before the courts and leave it up to them to decide. There's a lot of steps that have to go through in order for us to put that person before the court. Other options that we have are to release them with conditions, to not associate with certain people, not to attend places where that they have been in the past, and we can go even lower from there all the way down to just releasing them unconditionally with some type of a warning or something like that. So what happens is that as crime increases, we're dealing with people on a more continuous basis. So we arrest more and we put more before the bail court. So in the Canadian judicial system back in about 2019, they introduced what's called Bill C-78, where they identified that there are way too many offenders in custody. And how can we change this process? And in Canada, it's great, you're innocent until proven guilty, and we look at custody as you're guilty, so you're in custody. So there's been a massive push to release people from custody prior to trial. And so hence the bail system. And so what happens is we put them before the court, the bail they're addressed via the justice of the peace or the judge, and they're released back into the community, and we deal with them again and again and again. And what that leads to is a massive recidivism problem, which frustrates the police and it frustrates the community. So what's happened over the course of the last couple of years in Sarnia is that we've seen an exponential rise in the amount of prisoners that we're bringing into custody. So we would bring somebody into custody to be held for a bail based on the severity of the crime that they committed, perhaps how solid of a case it is that we are going to put before the court, maybe if they're already out on bail. And so when I talk about catch and release, everybody's out on bail that we're dealing with. We deal with the same people over and over and over again, so we put them before the bail court. But the bail court is pushing back, saying that they're too busy and that we need to pump the brakes on who we put before the court. And I'm not sure if so the chief is going to enlighten everybody here about some of the challenges that we face as police officers in dealing with the judicial system. So when Chief Davis came, like I alluded to earlier, we wanted to address this issue. One of the biggest challenges that we faced was the building that we work in. If anybody's been to 555 North Christina Street, it's been there quite a long time. It's bursting at the seams, and it would probably explode if it wasn't 6 feet of cement for every wall. So we're pretty confined in there, which is also our cell block. So our cell block was built in 1987, and I believe it was in 1991 that the province introduced what are called adequacy standards. And so your cell block must meet certain criteria. That was in 1991. In 2022, ours didn't meet that criteria. And so what's happened in our community is the introduction of fentanyl. So when somebody comes into custody, they become our responsibility. We need to care for them. And as police officers, we stopped calling them prisoners and we started referring to them as patients. Because when these people come into custody, they're in a medical distress, almost every single one of them. And if we go back, and not even too far, if we just go back about 10, 12 years, a medical distress for somebody in our community was obvious, and certainly somebody in the cell block. They would be waving their arms, they'd be clutching their chest, they would be moving around frantically. Now a medical emergency looks significantly different. If anybody's not familiar with the way fentanyl works, it slows your respiratory rate to eventually the point that you just stop breathing. So somebody will lay down on a bench, suffer a medical emergency, and we have no idea. So that caused massive amounts of stress for the officers who were responsible for the care of these people. And it got to a point where we're like, we really need to bring this person here. And so the mentality within our station, not only frustrated by the fact that we have to deal with these people over and over and over again, and now we're afraid to bring them into our custody for fear that they're going to die. And a death in custody is an automatic inquest. It's likely, well, it's for sure a criminal investigation towards the officer in charge of the station, and potentially could be criminal charges. So there's a lot of hesitancy to how we did business. So we immediately addressed that. So what we've done is we've brought our cells up to the adequacy standards, where now we're comfortable in bringing prisoners in. And it's almost reflective in this chart here. Going back to February 2023, you can see that the amount of prisoners that we're lodging is increasing significantly. So we are dealing with the issues. We are putting people before the courts who need to be put before the courts. We are keeping them in custody when we make the determination that the charges laid against them are appropriate for them to be detained. We're doing the best that we can. We bring them in and we put them before the courts. And I don't think I'll go much further than that, and I'll let the chief speak to the challenges that we face when it gets to court.
Thanks, Mike. So the philosophy we've taken for enforcement is the police are going to do the right thing. If the courts don't want it, then respectfully, that's too bad. If we need to make an arrest, we're going to make it. If we need to do a bail, we're going to bail it. And if we need to do conditions, we're going to do conditions. That's our approach. I just want you to know that we're under attack for that philosophy under a few different areas, but we're holding to it. And part of the reason we hold to it is, not only is it the right thing to do, but we are not going to be responsible as your police service for letting someone go who hurts someone and they can come back and say that we could have done more. So our philosophy is we're going to lay the appropriate charges where we can, and we'll talk about the drug possession piece a little bit later, separate type of prosecution service. These criminal charges are for provincial court, and this is what we this is the philosophy we've pursued. What you've got on the screen, and I'll read it because I realize, like, as I'm over 50 now, I couldn't read it unless I'm standing in front of it. So I'll read it out here. This is I've redacted it a little bit. This is an email I received from our courts on Friday, July 26th. It's written by a senior justice of the peace, and I want to be really clear before we read this out. We have some excellent Crown attorneys, we have some excellent judges, we have some excellent JPs. There's just not enough of them. There's not enough courtrooms, there's not enough prosecutors. This is part of the challenge. So these folks are dealing with, like we are, massively increased workloads. In particular, in Sarnia, so as the police charge more, charges up 26%, that's all going to the courts. And now they're feeling it too. So I just want to read what we received. So the email says, I'm sure we have all noticed the drastic increase in the amount of overnight matters Sarnia Bail Court is receiving as of late. A lot of these matters are strictly breaches of probation matters or breaches of police in charge undertakings. I have been made aware that the reason we are seeing these matters brought to bail court and not released from the station is that police have been directed to take all these matters to court, even if the warrant in the first authorizes release. And then this is the key point. I don't think I need to point out what a waste of court time these matters are. Myself personally, I do not even impose terms on a release order to report to probation if they are already on a reporting order. I am hopeful that some conversations can be commenced behind the scenes to address this issue, but if something does not change with that police directive, I am sure this will end up on the agenda of a bail subcommittee meeting for bench and bar. That's Latin for, you're gonna get it. So, fair enough. So it illuminates. They're frustrated, and I respect the fact that they're frustrated, but we're not gonna stop doing our work because that's a court problem. Courts are funded by the province, not funded by the city. But I just want everyone to know, this is what the Sarnia Police Service faces, and we face it from a number of different directions. So the point of sharing some of this is so that the folks that say we don't do anything understand that we can't do everything, but we are trying. This is the evidence of that effort that we're making that's manifesting in the courts, and I want you all to know that we are going to continue to do the right thing. We've improved. Thank you. As Deputy Van Sickle alluded to, we've improved ourselves to increase the comfort of our officers. We've added technology so that people feel safe as officers to bring people in custody into the building, and that has helped encourage our officers to continue to do more of that kind of work. So an important component in terms of criminal enforcement, but I think it's something that the community needs to be aware of. As citizens of Sarnia and as citizens of the province, these are some of the challenges that are manifesting everywhere. I just want to emphasize again, this is not to be disparaging to the courts. This is to say this is where the frustrations are appearing all over the place. So I did send a response to this, and I said essentially, we're going to do what we're going to do, and I didn't say too bad, but it's almost that level because there's no other alternative. The other question we asked is if you'd like to put in writing to let me know which laws you don't want us to enforce, we're happy to receive that. And I've actually heard no response. So no response sounds like a green light for us, so we're going to continue to do what we need to do.
Can you disclose that email is from?
Sorry, what was the question?
Can you disclose that email is from that you received?
I specifically chose not to because we do have to work with these folks, and I don't think it's the individual themselves. I think they're speaking on behalf of the kind of the temperament in the group. But like I said, we have some excellent JPs, we have some excellent judges, but the frustrations are everywhere. And the court side isn't always visible when it comes to citizens. You see us, we're visible, we're always there in front, and we take a lot of heat because of that, which is okay. But you don't often see some of those back pieces. So this is an opportunity for us to share that with you and let you know kind of what we're facing.
I have a question.
Question, yes?
Why are our courts not open? They're only 4 hours a day still from COVID.
I don't know. Do you know any court hours?
I went up there and I was told by an officer that was there to get on horn and send messages to see why we're not opened up. Only 2 hours a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I unfortunately I don't know. I wasn't aware it was only 4 hours, but I know we're sending 24 hours over there. Yeah, these days, like I think we're all zoomed out, frankly. And part of the reason we wanted to do this in-person town hall was to have some of that, open communication, because it's a different experience to be able to see you face to face. So as far as the courts go, I don't know. We can find out, and if you want to send us an email, we'll get you an answer. Yes. So this is where I'm careful about the politics, but I will say that the changes that occurred in 2019, and you can figure out who was in power in federal government at that time, in 2019, there's two sides. I'll give you a quick history of what this is. The courts were backlogged. The easiest way to clear a backlog is to not have anyone in the court. So what happened was, there was a drive back in 2019, 2020 to push everybody out on the street, which took the backlog out in the court, but what it did is it just pushed a bubble of offenders out, and now that bubble is back at the court stage. So all it did was buy time, but nothing grew. So the courts and the prosecutors are funded from the province. That's where that funding comes from. We have a courthouse. We're very fortunate to have a jail here, so that saves us a lot of transport time. That's a huge advantage for us. But in terms of advocacy, I would start provincially for the funding of the prosecution and some of those resources, and that's where we're at. we don't disagree with you. If there was more, we are all aligned that we need to change the way we're going societally, and I think that's, I think if this can start some advocacy down that road, that's a good thing, certainly from the members of the community that are dealing with this, like yourself. And you understand a little more, I think, from what we're trying to do as a police service to support you. And this is, I think if we work together, this is probably where we can start to get some of that positive change. But this happened pretty quickly if you go back in time. This is just a couple of years. So it's fixable, it just takes will, it's gonna take leadership, and it's gonna take people that can make decisions at a much higher level than us as a city, really. But, you know, squeaky wheel and all that. So it could be a good plan. Okay. Yeah. Do you want, if you got a question, do you want to come up to the mic? If we can, or I'm going to try to repeat the question so we can make sure we all hear it. Sorry.
We're just waiting for the time to have questions.
Go ahead. Okay, so we're keep going. Okay, so what we're going to do, folks, if you can keep your questions just for a moment, I'm going to just go through a couple quick slides here, and then we'll take questions. But we're going to ask that you come up to the mic. I apologize for having to navigate the bleachers. We didn't expect this type of a crowd, but it's actually great that this many people are here. So let's talk a little bit about the downtown, and I'm going to thank Greg Jones. I think I saw him here somewhere when he came in. He's got a Facebook group, very informative, always good. Thank you, Greg. I've got you quoted up here. He's in the back there. So Greg did a little informal poll on Facebook that basically said, how do you feel about the downtown? How safe do you feel? And the majority of people said, I do not feel safe in downtown Sarnia. So let's talk right about what we're going to do with this. And on the right-hand side, I've got a little heat map of where the calls are in the downtown, and it's no surprise to anyone that frequents or lives in the downtown where that is. So, in addition to included in the 94 calls per day that the Sarnia Police respond to are calls downtown. One of the challenges we saw this year in particular was a lot of the issues along Christina and Front Street. Just want to check my next slide. Flip that one, Ron, next one. So what we did is we said we have to do something as a police service to adapt. We don't have spare officers in the cupboard that we can pull out. So what we did instead is we said to all our officers, we're going to run an overtime downtown patrol project. And what we've done is from Wednesday to Saturday, we're putting additional officers down there on overtime, so there's some presence. The other part you probably don't see on a regular basis is every morning, Deputy Van Sickle's operations team, the patrol officers, every time they start a day shift, they sweep Christina in front. So if you've seen some even moderate improvements along those in the doorways and on the sidewalks, that is a morning sweep just to get people up and moving along so that the business community and the people that frequent the downtown can have even an iota of improvement there. So there's two parts to what we've done as the police service downtown. Every day starts with a sweep, and if you've been there in the early morning, you've seen it. The second part is during the day, so that if you're down there, you'll see a police officer. Hopefully you'll know that we're down there, and this is in addition to calls for service, in addition to impact. It's not, frankly, it's not enough. We need to put more resources there. This is everything we can squeeze out of the lemon right now, and that's what we're trying to do. This is to the tune of probably $60,000 in overtime so far, but it's necessary for the safety of the people that are down there, visiting or businesses or otherwise. As we move forward into next year, again, budget notwithstanding, we put a budget forward early this year. You may have seen it. Some of those resources will allow us to move things internally. One of the concepts we'd like to explore for our downtown businesses and our downtown area is the presence of a dedicated officer. So someone that can be down there and build the relationships and be available and be a point of contact for a business community. That doesn't mean there's no one else available. We'll still call the resources in, but we want to have a little more of a dedicated footprint because of the concentration of issues there. Now, this is one spot. We know, and we're going to talk about the other parts of the community that also need resources. You can see where we start to run out of things pretty quickly, but we're looking at different ways that we can improve how we're going to do business. Sorry, just back up one more. Right there. The other part is, so far this year, 191 hours of just straight dedicated time just to the downtown patrol project. That doesn't count any other calls for service, any other thing, and that's just since early July, I think we implemented. So we tried it as a pilot, bike officers, footbeat officers, and patrol, and based on what we've seen so far and the feedback we've had from folks downtown, this is going to be a repeat for next year. So we're going to try to start it earlier, and we're going to try to keep that going. So just we'll keep you posted on that one. So next one. All right, we're going to get into some meat and potatoes here. So as we roll into the encampment conversation, one of the things that comes up all the time is Veterans Park. So you'll remember it started at Veterans, and now it's at Rainbow, and there's a lot of rumors about what went, how it got from A to B. I'm just going to go make sure I got my notes right here. So just to give you a quick history, Veterans Park was an issue around the library, everyone will remember. There was a whole bunch of problems. There was a couple of encampments there. And our impact team, which is here in the blue shirts, Jocelyn and John, they were part of our outreach to those individuals that were there. So it started with a person that set up there in October, November 2023. Then a second tent came in December 2023 with a second person occupying it. And then they brought a couple of others along in January. So then we got a fourth and fifth tent with person 3, 4, 5. So 5 people, 3 tents, that's what was down there. After several attempts to move them and ask them to resource them to where they can go. So person 1 actually agreed to move to a motel supported by County of Lambton. So she moved her belongings there, and that was one gone. In February 3rd of 2024, the person 2 had abandoned their tent, and then that was confirmed by person 3, 4, and 5, so the city was able to clean that up. And then on February 9th, bylaw confirmed that all tents had left. So the 3 individuals that left the park, so a couple rumors to kill, no one was ever kicked out, no one was ever evicted, nor were the Sarnia Police ever asked to do so, because we are not the property owner. What we did is, our people reached out with working with city bylaw to try to get them to resources, and were successful in that particular space at that particular time, in most of those folks going somewhere else. The problem became persons 3, 4, and 5 then set up at Rainbow, and that was where it started. So they were never sent there, they were never directed there. Every one of them was offered services and refused, and that's what happened at Veterans Park and around the issues that we were having around the library. So it displaced to Rainbow Park. Fast forward. Now that, if they're allowed to stay, and this is where we get into some of the law challenges. So this is the police saying this is another area we get frustrated with, because we need tools to be able to do certain things. And if we don't have the tools, we can't do the work. So very early on, I think early May, we sent a letter to Help Council by saying, as a police service, we reached out to Kingston, we reached out to London, a number of other places that have been dealing with this a lot longer than us, and we said, how do you manage this? What do we need to do? And the number one thing that came back from all those court decisions is this talk of the injunction. And what is the point of the injunction? The injunction was there in those other jurisdictions to ensure the constitutionality of whatever bylaw or whatever protocol was there, to ensure that the police could lawfully take action. Under the new Community Safety Act, police officers are liable for taking unconstitutional actions, like we can actually be charged with misconduct. So we have to make sure we're on solid lawful footing. So in the May letter to council, which was in the minutes, publicly published, our last word from me that said, we strongly encourage the city to obtain an injunction. That was the recommendation. We can't tell the city what to do. They make their own decisions. That's exactly the way it's supposed to work. We're not the property owner. So just for clarity, I mean, this is not a finger pointing, this is just a history trip. We've never been asked to evict. We've never been asked to remove. So what we do as police is all we can do is respond, which we've done since. So in that early May letter is followed up with a public posting of a letter that I think people might have saw from us. I did a public statement. The whole point of, if you follow the Twitter account, I generally use my Twitter account to convey some of these messages. I know not everyone's a Twitter fan or an X fan, but it's the one mechanism that we do use to put some messaging out. So that was re-emphasized and up until the summer. So right now, there's some progress happening, and I know the council's working on addressing some of these issues, but from a policing perspective, we're still stuck because it's entrenched. It's different when it's an entrenched encampment. Now, our impact team works very hard to move people to where they need to go. They work very closely with the other groups. Here's the other challenge. We can't force Canadian citizens, homeless or not, to go somewhere unless they want to voluntarily go, barring that lawful authority to do so. So if we did evict, we can't evict them into a shelter, we can evict from the location. And then where they go is ultimately up to them. The only thing that they would be bound to go is if it's a different approach, like if it was a criminal offense, for example, and if the courts or the jails offered some sort of treatment or counseling or whatever as a component of that, which I understand there's not a ton of. So when we talk about jails over there, that's another component I think that would be quite helpful, is some mandatory treatment facilities for those struggling as part and parcel of the court. Because if we're going to go through this expense, and if someone's going to be stuck in a place, then they might as well be getting the help they need, so when they go back out, they don't go right back to where they were. So that's another area from the police perspective that we think could be quite helpful. But this is where we're at with the encampment piece. Flip forward. So impact is all over the city. So our impact group, which you'll remember in 2022, we proposed the introduction of impact because homelessness was emerging as a problem. I don't think anybody expected it to become what it is today, but it is what it is. We're very fortunate that the board and our council supported our budget of the day then, because that allowed us to put impact in place, and they have done an incredible amount of work. So just so far this year, over 1,000 encounters with homeless individuals, 303 unique people. That means 303 people, individuals, not one person 100 times. It's 303 unique individuals have some sort of precarious housing that they've dealt with. 900 of those 1,000 have addiction issues, and 262 of the people with addiction issues are unique individuals. So high prevalence of addiction challenges, which we need some resources for. I don't know how else to say it. Like, that is our real, that is, if you, right. Yeah. 900 people with addiction were encountered, so that means that could be multiples. There's 262 individuals that Impact has encountered who have addiction as an underlying risk. We're not labeling them as addicts, we're just saying they're fighting with, yeah. Okay, so, well, we understand that, that's why we're differentiating. Homelessness is not a crime, addiction is not a crime. So this is, we are going to stick with that. The challenge becomes the impact on everyone else's quality of life, and the impact comes on the crimes that are committed on other people. So when we look at it as police, we understand there are rights, but there are rights on both sides of that debate. The citizens, you have a right to the enjoyment of your property, you have the right to not have your items stolen. We also face the challenge of those citizens that are, choosing or have found themselves in those precarious situations also have some rights that we need to respect. So as the police service, that is a challenge for us. But we have never forgotten that our community also has some rights and also deserves the protection to be able to live their lives. It's just, right. This is one of the things we're trying to work through. So this is the impact piece. So the encampment protocol is under construction. I'm not speaking for the city. I am, as the police, we're looking forward to the completion of that process so we know what we're working with, and then we can start to do some work. Just so folks know, I even called our own legal counsel and I asked, can I get my own injunction? And he said, no, because you're not the landowner. So we're trapped with what we can and can't do. But I do want to say, when it comes to certainly the responses, just want to hit it there. Next one. We are in that park every day. We are responding every day. Whether you see us there or not, we're there. We're driving by, we're walking through, we've done warrants, we've done feeding warrants to enter tents, our attack team has done arrests there. We are in that park on a regular and ongoing basis. When it comes to some of the folks that are there, it's hard to see the pictures, but we're even picking up shopping carts. So we've gone through and collected wheelbarrows, shopping carts, returned them to store owners. So we're not advertising this every day, but we are doing that work. We're trying to pick up the property. We know there's a ton of stolen stuff there. Like, as you walk through, it's just a matter of how do you prove it? I know that bike is probably not that individual's bike, but then whose bike is it? We still have the obligation under law to meet some of those challenges. Just know that that's there too. At the top, you can't read it because it's too small, but what I've done is we've listed we know who's in the park. So some of the individuals that are there, just to give you an example, are folks that we have a high frequency of contact with for whatever reason. And the chart there shows, like, person number 1, since April of this year, we've had 31 occurrences with police, and of those 31 occurrences, we've added 13 impact interactions. So the impact team is out there. That doesn't mean at the park, that means across the city, because not everything that has a nexus to the park happens in the park. Some of it happens at the Lambton Mall, some of it happens up on Exmouth, some of it happens wherever. But we know who's there, and some come and some go. The second person, 26 occurrences, 12 impact interactions. The third, 24 occurrences, 5 impact interactions, just since April. So we are there, as some of you are living this, we are there a lot. And the resources are there a lot. This is patrol, this is downtown patrol, this is the officers responding. Is there a question? I'll repeat the question so everybody can hear it.
Yeah, I just wanted some clarification. You said that you can't remove out of the park unless you have a criminal.
So two sides. So the question is, you can't remove them out of the park unless you have a criminal. So the criminal component, I will say we do. If someone commits an offense in the park and we're able to ask the courts or impose a condition to not go back to the park, we have asked for that. Whether the courts impose it or not is hit and miss. But that's part of the process, because the folks that are living there, they are often victims of each other as well. Victims of violence, victims of their own thefts. Like it's like, no one is saying it's a happy existence, but when it comes to the eviction part, if it's the eviction part that's the legal challenge. It's not the criminal. We can do criminal anywhere.
Okay, what my confusion is that these people, they have the list of drugs in their tent. Is that not a criminal offense?
So it is. Drugs in the tent is a criminal offense, but it's no different than drugs in your house. So the Supreme Court of Canada decided many years ago that a tent is a residence. I'm not on the Supreme Court. I didn't make the decision, but I'm telling you, just to give you an example. So if you look at the bottom picture is our tactical team and our canine deployed at a tent for a person that was involved in some serious violence. Our investigators had to write a warrant to go in the tent. So when we're talking about these things, these are the challenges we're facing. We have to get what's called a Feeney warrant. It's R.V. Feeney is the case if anybody wants to look it up. It's an RCMP case from out west many, many years ago. And it basically is a person's home is their castle and the police can't go in. There's certain ways we can. We can go in under fresh pursuit. We can go in under exigent circumstances, somebody calling for help. But if we're going to go in and arrest you, and that's what our intent of going there is, we need a warrant, even if you're in a tent. And that takes hours. So we have to secure it, we have to secure the perimeter, make sure you're in there. They have to write the warrant, we have to get the warrant if we get it. And if they give us the warrant, we have to have grounds that you're in it before we execute the warrant. So this is some of the challenge. I know there's lots of questions, and if you can just make a note, because we're going to have a whole bunch. I just want to get through the slide and then we can start addressing these so everybody can hear, if that's okay, folks. Don't forget them. Here's the other part of this conversation. The other part of this conversation is not everybody agrees. So there's one side that says this needs to go, and there's another component, agree or disagree, but it's what we're dealing with, who says you don't need to go. So you'll see on some of the tents now, and this is from Sarnia, this tent is my home. This is the only home I have. By taking it, you're putting my health and safety at risk. I do not consent to anyone, including law enforcement, to open, enter, or look in my tent shelter without my express written permission. I have a reasonable expectation of privacy in my tent shelter protected by Section 8 of the Charter. The Charter overrides any municipal bylaws. Technically correct, but just understand, as police, there are people that don't want us there either. Some of you want us there, and some don't want us there. So we're back to, we got to navigate the law, or we're going to get into trouble. So, not technically wrong, but also not super helpful with some of the challenges that we're facing. Again, people are entitled. Canadian citizens, housed or unhoused, they have the protection of the Charter, and they have the right to assert their rights like any other citizen. as the police, this is some of our challenges. Again, folks, I'm not saying it just is what it is. I just want to explain. This one's come from the Community Law School, Sarnia Lambton. Looks like that's at the bottom. These are publicly posted. So this isn't, like if you walk through the park, you'll see them. They're taped to the side of the tents. If we go to experiences in other cities, even at the eviction phase, some of these notices have evolved in areas like Kingston to say, I am unable to physically take down my tent because of a disability or whatever I have, therefore I can't be evicted, which opens up a whole other thing. So this is what we're dealing with. These are court decisions. These are court case law decisions. We're a little stuck until they're overturned. It's not to say things can't change, but sometimes if you look at Veterans Park, the best course of action was to get someone convinced to willingly seek help and go to where that help is. And that's something we continue to try to do. Again, sorry for just keep holding those questions because I know we're going to have a time. Next slide, Mark. Okay, we're at it. Okay, I'm going to turn it back to the chair.
I'll tell you, we're very, very proud of our chief. He actually has another hour of slides to present, but I know you're itching to ask those questions. And I'm gonna really ask you to be disciplined and use the mic so that everyone in the crowd can hear. And we would also ask, if you feel comfortable to do so, it'd be really nice if you shared what your name is and if you're with any specific organization. So go ahead.
My name's Sharon Doherty. I live directly across from Rainbow Park. Hello?
You gotta go right close, Sharon.
Hello?
There you go.
That's why I'm not a singer. My name is Sharon Doherty, and I live directly across the street from Rainbow Park. I do have a quick clarifier before I ask my question. It's my understanding that in your 2 years as the Chief of Police in Sarnia, you have not met in any official capacity with our city's mayor, Mike Bradley. Is that correct or incorrect?
Hot seat out of the gates. Okay. I'm going to answer this one. I'm going to answer your question directly. Number one is every event the Sarnia Police host, we invite every member of council, every single one, every single time, and you'll see the same faces again and again and again. I will also mention that Adam Kilner had every intention of being here tonight. He had another engagement at his church, and he was unable. Is he here? Perfect. Where is he? He just got here. Wonderful. I just didn't want him to be excluded because I know he's off and attends everything he can. In short answer is no. So as a chief, I think one of the things in the city, one of the most important things we can do as a community is communicate. And I think this is what we're trying to do tonight, is have some of those things. I think it would be very helpful to be able to have open conversations at every level in the city, but I can say that we have not yet been able to have that type of conversation.
So my question then is, how effective will your enforcement So how effective will your enforcement be if you were to go ahead with potential cracking down on open public use of illegal drugs if the city's two main leaders, yourself and the mayor, aren't together at the helm to see us through this? It's like we're caught in the middle of everybody not being on the same page, not being in the same room, and not having the same conversation. And that's why I think a lot of us are frustrated also, because that's not happening, and it absolutely needs to happen.
Thank you, Sharon. I can say that I don't want to be disparaging of anybody because it's important, but I will say for me and for our organization and for our members, our commitment is to even at this high-risk meeting, we're here. We didn't know if we were going to be sharpening pitchforks outside, but we're here because of exactly what you said. We need to be here as community leaders and having those hard conversations. We need to be listening to what you folks are dealing with, and we need to be doing the best we can to respond and helping you understand where we're stuck. So I appreciate that, and I'm sure you can understand the challenges that I face. It's been a long 2 years.
I don't have another question, but I do want to end this with saying that I moved downtown because I was always downtown. I love it. I love the area. I'm a South End girl since we came to Canada, but our downtown area survived COVID. And I thought that was an immense testament to this city and to those shopkeepers. But are they going to survive this? Like, this is worse than what COVID ever did to us. It's beyond what I think most small communities like ours are going to be able to survive if this keeps going the way it is.
It's clearly, you're right. It's the downtown faces a ton of problems. It's going to take a lot of coordinated effort. All I can do is we can control our response as the police. I just want you to know what our response is. But we are always willing to work with other agencies. We work every chance we get to collaborate. I will say we do have a great working relationship with Bylaw and a great working relationship with our city staff. And we do everything we can to work together. We meet with them every week and try to say, how can we do things better? The downtown patrol, just so you know, the city staff wanted to look at security downtown, and as police we said, that's kind of our job. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we've got a response in place to start to deal with these things even more. So that's another reason. The downtown patrol was a collaboration between city staff and us to try to solve mutually some of the challenges you're facing downtown, but there's clearly more to be done. I acknowledge that, absolutely.
Just before we move on, I just want to make a quick comment, and that is from the board's perspective, we really appreciate the collaboration that we have with City Council and the support that we have from many city councillors. And just in terms of our budgetary process for 2025, we will be meeting with the mayor to talk about priorities in terms of policing. So I'm very encouraged by that. I'm going to let Chris ask the next question. I see there's about 20 people or so at the mic, so maybe we'll just ask people to limit themselves to one question or comment, just so that we can get through the list. So go ahead, Chris.
I'm Chris Cook, along with my wife, Lisa. We're taxpayers in the city of Sarnia. I'm Chris Cook, along with my wife Lisa. We're taxpayers in the city of Sarnia. As you know, I know the police chief knows this, I'm not on social media for obvious reasons. However, I'm interested in this. Randy Kalar, the city's acting lawyer, said it would cost $200,000 for an injunction. That seems rather cheap in light of the first month of nearly $100,000 in costs associated with the situation at the encampment at Rainbow Park. Secondly, I noted, and I call people, as you know, I have a tendency to call people. It shocks them, but I call them because I'm not on social media. So I called people to find out how much it costs the University of Toronto to get an injunction and to rid itself of the Palestinian protesters. The interesting result was a fraction of the $200,000 that was suggested by the city lawyer. My point is, no matter what this costs, if you got an injunction, would you enforce the injunction and rid the city of Rainbow Park?
So the short answer is, like any injunction, the police would enforce the injunction. That reasonableness will also apply. So this is part of the challenge, and it's no different than you think of a protest that's out there. The police would receive the injunction, we would commit a plan to enforce it, we'd meet with the people responsible, give everybody their options, but that would progress in an iterative manner up to potentially the physical removal. The part I think we also need to remember is that can be done, and the police will do what needs to be done if that's the case. So just know that that is true. The next challenge will be, how are we going to manage the displacement? So when it comes, so I will say these are city social issues for the most part. This is like, we step in at the criminal and at the end of the enforcement spectrum. Your bylaw team are working countless hours. There's just not enough of them. So if and when we want as a city to start to manage what's going to happen in terms of all over the city, we're going to have to look at how we can better manage what we're not going to be able to magically fix. This is not going to go away overnight. We're going to have to manage better. So right now you've got Rainbow Park, which is disproportionately putting a ton of issues on one small community. But there is going to be, I hate to say it, there's going to have to be a share of the burden across the city somehow, somewhere. But we, the police, bylaw, city, the community, we're going to have to find a way to manage this more effectively than what we're doing right now. So acknowledged. And we will be there to do what we need to do. It won't happen overnight. We have to act reasonably and we have to act within the law.
How you doing? My name is Kim Gudanik. I live kitty corner to Rainbow Park on John Street. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I believe before it came to the question period, you said you have the right to the enjoyment of your property. It seems that I've lost that right. I can't teach my children how to ride a bike, sit on my front porch swing, go for a walk, and had council heeded the warnings that I gave them in April and May, instead of just doing what Terry Burrell said, kicking the can down the road every meeting, we might not be here. I did give them plenty of opportunities, ideas, even blueprints and pricing for tiny little homes, have them moved. That fell on deaf ears. So my question to you is, I try to follow what's going on right in every city. So Peterborough, I did address this in May to the council. Chief Stuart Betts, I believe is his name, out of Peterborough, he sat there and said that a zero tolerance to open air illicit drugs would be their approach in Peterborough, and that public safety couldn't wait for a perfect system. So why can't we do that here in Sarnia? And then that could solve some of the issues that we're dealing with in the park. I mean, any single one of these individuals can drive by Rainbow Park and see somebody shooting up or somebody smoking crack. Actually, the same very things that my children see every single day, that these counselors have decided that that's a great spot to keep them for the time being. And they're affecting my family and everyone else's family here. So I'm tired of kicking the can down the road, and I wish that they can get their act together. And I'm wondering, can you sit there and implement and enforce a zero tolerance to open air illicit drug use in public spaces and parks?
So, thank you. I spoke with Stu Betts yesterday. I called him on this very matter. So I worked with Stu for many years. I totally respect him as a chief. He does a great job. He's a smart guy. So this is based on a priority area. So they work it across the city. They're not laying, they will if they need to, but not very frequently, the 4-1, which is the possession charge. What they're doing is telling people not here, go somewhere else. So the side effect is it's going to the alleys and off the main drag, so it is possible to do. That is a component of our downtown patrol when we're there. Peterborough has 150 officers for a city their size. They have 4 officers dedicated to a property crime unit in support of that initiative. That's gathering the shopping carts and all those other pieces. So yes, they're doing it. Yes, we can do some of those components, but some of the challenges we have, and this is not an excuse, this is just an explanation. The Public Prosecution Service of Canada will not prosecute possession charges. There's 2 sides to the court. There's the provincial courts, which is the criminal, and if you tie a drug charge in there, it goes to the provincial court, but the federal prosecutor does all pure drug possession charges. The federal prosecutors will not prosecute drug charges. So we can arrest, we can seize, if we find them there with it, subject to all the normal arrest and seizure laws, and we can take it, but the charge is going nowhere. So yes, we can. The problem becomes, with the 7 officers we have out there on patrol, when they're going to all the other issues we're dealing with, this is our challenge. So the answer is yes. If the public decides that's something you'd like us to do, and that's something that can be reasonably resourced, like, it is entirely possible. Our challenge is getting the people out there to catch it. You're living it, you're right there in front. It's a horrible existence. 100% I empathize with where you're at, and we'd like to be able to do more, but we're getting pulled. Do you want to operationally?
So we, as part of that downtown patrol, we introduced this very thing. So I went to the officers in the summertime and I said, essentially the restrictions are off with respect to arresting for those drug possession charges. The officers have been instructed that every time they see open air drug use, they are to arrest and search the individual. And if we can take from them what it is that they seek to enjoy, then perhaps away they go. But to the chief's point, the laying of the charges is almost not an option to us.
Well, no, but if the councillors ever do come up with the protocol, that would be a way to get them out of that park, and then they wouldn't just concentrate in one small area and create, for lack of a better term, a ghetto of the downtown area. I am very grateful for what you guys are doing. I know you guys are, you know, the brunt of everyone's, you know, foot, I guess you could say. But I really appreciate what you're doing. I thank you very much. I thank you for hosting this. Yeah.
I have a motion going in the very next meeting doing exactly what you just asked for now.
Thank you. That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, our next questioner.
Hey. Okay, I am Jenna. I live on Durand Street in Sarnia. My kids go to London Road School, which is scary because it's catching a lot of unwanted visitors or people using the playground for drug use. So just on Monday night, 4 parents went over. We found more than 30 needles, we found 1 bike, tons of tinfoil. So we filled a garbage bag and a half with just 4 parents and a bike, and then we were also approached by 2 individuals who were clearly taking their things. They walked away, and that was the end of that. So the school board's saying they check every day. Fine, you can only do so much with 1 custodian. I'm just wondering what we can do at all, if anything, between London Road and Maxwell, where the beer store is. They've got the park, they've got the parkette with all the benches and the new lights and all that. It's very well lit for people to use drugs. We daily at the school see people defecating in the park. Like, our children know to use the washrooms. I understand that they don't have anywhere else to go, but it's not just Rainbow Park. It is a huge issue of a community problem. And like, me and my children have a code word. When we're walking down the street, when we're at the skate park, if there is too many suspicious people or people that I am going to have to worry about getting 2 kids away from, we have a code word, and my kids know that code word by heart. It's a secret, all of that, and they come running, and they know why. They know that the needles on the ground are for drugs. They know the tin foils for drugs. They're 5 and 7. This is not how we want our kids to start. And as much as with this right now is a problem, it is not going to end up any different if we don't start at a younger age, at the schools, at Lambton. We need to upgrade our knowledge. Like, Calgary is where I came from, and they are eons above this. Like, and they have like a DI that covers 500 and some odd a night. So again, I think somebody else said, like, let's reach out to other places that are like using models that are working. And I also suggest not using the current overwhelmed shelters that we have, or any other systems that we have, because we need fresh stuff. We need new material.
I'm just going to say thank you. It's going to take a lot of people working together to be able to solve this problem, exactly to your point, so thank you for sharing that. And there are other communities that some of these are solved problems, as you mentioned, and we need to take some lessons from other areas and see if we can apply them here.
Just a quick question. So for parents who are cleaning up yards or things that are just not, we don't have the training to like pick up safely, what is your suggestion? Where should we take the stuff that we find?
So the Lambton Public Health Unit will dispose of anything that you have. If there's anything that you're, like if you feel unsafe dealing with it,
All
just
of
call
it.
us. Yeah, but call us. So we do this kind of stuff on a regular basis, and we have resources that we can reach out to assist us. There is a business end of it, and there's another end that you can manage. And like if anybody, just for public knowledge, an empty water bottle, if you come across something, this is the ideal sharps container. So these are everywhere, and if you want to deal with something, if you're comfortable to do it, drop it in here, seal the lid, and then the Lambton Public Health Unit will dispose of it for you.
Maybe we can hand out like poke-proof gloves to people who actually want to help. Thank you very much.
Lambton Health Unit hands out those needles, and they need to be the ones to go around the parks and the schoolyards and pick them up.
My name is Marge Stewart, and I'm a homeowner in the city of Sarnia, and I'm a taxpayer. As a taxpayer, my question to you is, you said you can't go into the tents because there are residents. Are they not considered at an unknown address to the police? Number two, does a residence not require an address, and does it not have to pay city taxes? Because I believe if I don't pay my taxes, the city can come and take my home. And is the city of Sarnia not the landowner of Rainbow Park?
So I'll go in reverse order. Yes, the city of Sarnia is the landowner of Rainbow Park. The issue of the residence isn't tied to an address, and this is not the police making this up. The Supreme Court of Canada says if you live in a hotel room at your residence, if you live in a tent at your residence, the Feeney case involved a trailer. The person was in the trailer, deemed a residence. Before that, the police were allowed to enter for warrants and everything else. After that court decision, I think 1997, warrant required to execute the warrant. So the law says the space they live in is their residence. If it's their residence, if you're camping, that's not your residence, but if you're living in your tent, and I know this is frustrating for you folks, it is extremely frustrating for us, but that is the law that we're dealing with, unfortunately, from the police perspective.
Okay, but the owner of that property, where it sits, and the tent that is sitting on that land is owned by the city of Sarnia. Therefore, is it not Mayor Mike Bradley's decision and city council to make sure that the police can go in and raid one of those tents?
This one I'll say has nothing to do with the city. This is the Supreme Court. This is the law of Canada that they made that decision, and that applies to every province, to every police service.
Then what you're saying to me is that we need to go to our MP for the federal government, and we need to change that law back so that the citizens who are paying taxes in this country have their rights over the people who are not paying anything.
Hi, my name is Peter Goodman. Just really kind of want to make a statement. You know, I grew up here, went to school here from '83 to '97. You know, what happened? You know, we were on the world stage with that Chemical Valley, and half of it's closed down. This is what caused it. You know, people not having jobs. This is what caused this, all this stuff. It was never like this 30 years ago. You know, ups and downs is still running. He should know how it was back then. It was great, right? And what happened now, right? You know, you close half of the Chemical Valley. Well, that's more environmental, unusable land now than climate change and all this other crap that, you know, the Liberal government wants to go with. and all this crap, right? And where's the $2 million? And where's the $2 million that Sarnia got 2 years ago? Bill, ask Mr. Bradley where that $2 million they got after the budget, because it was in the paper, it was on the news. Yeah, I have paid taxes for 30 years. I worked here, right? I'm on disability now because I have MS. Right? I worked in those plants. I worked in Alberta. Right? I gave back all that
Thank you for the comment. We want to stay on topic. Thank you.
You know, realistically, all those plants should be paying double the taxes than the whole county.
We'll have our next questioner, please. Thank you.
Hello. I'm going to apologize in advance. My forte is not public speaking. And it's not necessarily a question I have, but a general statement, not just for the Sarnia Police, but for council, and if the mayor was here, it would be to him as well. But I would like to start by saying good evening to the city staff, the council members, and the members of the Sarnia Police Service. My name is Olivia Clark, and I am a resident of Sarnia as well. I, like everyone else here, have a few comments that I need to vocalize for all of us. Before I get started, I'd like to take a brief moment to thank you all for putting this night together and for giving the people of this city an opportunity to voice their concerns and hopefully get some much needed answers. Like it's been said numerous times already tonight, the homeless encampments around the city are continuing to grow, and in turn, the concern for everyone and their safety is growing for those who live here. I am also aware that we are not the only city struggling with this problem. I understand that there is a process for everything that happens in this city. Protocols must be written out, hoops must be jumped, and everyone needs to be basically on the same page in order for anything to get looked at, let alone dealt with. What I fail to understand is why hasn't this been done sooner? Why weren't these protocols drawn up right when the first tent moved from Veterans Park to Rainbow Park? I guarantee you that if the encampment was right in front of City Hall, this meeting would either have happened a lot sooner or not need to have happened at all. But because it's in a low-income area, it was overlooked for way too long. Another thing I don't understand is why are funds being allocated to things that aren't necessary? Like a roundabout in an area of town that wasn't really needed. People don't desperately need to get to Home Depot 2 seconds faster. Why over $100,000 was used to put a light-up sign on the waterfront backwards that literally nobody asked for. Sure, you can use the excuse that a company donated most of that money, but why not instead raise funds for better care facilities in our community that we desperately need? There are multiple vacant buildings all over the city that could be used to help not just our homeless problem, but the mental health and addictions crisis as well, and more often than not, all three of those issues go hand in hand one way or another. I also want to be clear, I give no hate to the person that now owns this building, but the last thing this city needed was a private school in the South End with the lowest income in the city. This building sat vacant for a few years, and in that time the city could have jumped on a great opportunity to improve this place that over 75,000 people call home. Having attended this school in the past, I know it would have been the perfect location to help combat the issues that people are dealing with here. The cafeteria could have been great to feed our homeless and low-income families, as our current soup kitchens are always struggling to feed the growing number of people that come through there, not to mention the empty food banks because not enough is being donated because there are too many mouths to feed. Majority of the classrooms could be easily renovated into bachelor apartments, offices for mental health therapy, and nurse stations for those who need help battling their addictions. A gym to help rebuild their physical bodies, a pool for water therapy or positive recreation, a library for education, and computers to beef up their resumes and help get jobs in this community. The different shop classrooms could have been used to teach basic life skills and help people get jobs. In doing this, you would have created more jobs in this city, as I myself am currently unemployed, even though I am a laborer in our local chapter. With the few counseling and therapy centers we have, the biggest issue is not just the waiting list a mile long, but the cost to go to these places. I have personally dealt with frustration of not being able to afford therapy, let alone not even getting a call after being added to a wait list 7 times. For the most part, the members in our community that struggle with mental health and addictions need a place to rest their head in order to have a clear mind and accept the help that they need. I 100% understand the need for our shelters to input a no-drug policy for their own safety, and that being an addict can be viewed as a choice. But in reality, being an addict is both a choice and a disease. I have very closely observed the struggles of being an addict, the mental toll it takes on not just them, but the loved ones that surround them. Do they have to make the choice to help themselves? Yes, they do. But does it help to have resources or somebody guide you in the right direction? Yes, it does. I know this town hall is to mainly update everyone on your protocol for removing the encampment, but if you're just going to make them move, where else will they go? Where will they gain access to the resources they need in order to better their lives? Putting them in secluded areas of the city and hiding them from the rest of the population isn't going to help anyone. It will just make it worse. I personally will not care about the details of this protocol if you are not also going to come up with a solution to start bettering the lives of the people that are struggling in this city. The ones that not just the Sarnia Police Service, but members of City Council and anybody in a position of power have sworn an oath to protect and serve the community. From what I have seen so far, this city and its leaders have been lacking in the former and starting to spiral downhill in regards to the latter. Thank you again for your time today, and I truly hope that you take what I've said and what everyone else is saying into extreme consideration.
Hi everyone, my name is Jeanette Anderson and I'm a retired school teacher. I've got to, earlier, the question I have is a comment you made earlier about receiving calls and doing a form of triage, if you will. And I want everybody to really listen to what I'm saying because last year my daughter was at Walmart and on her way out, she noticed that there was a man waiting for her at her car. And beside it was a van parked there with 4 men. And she did not feel like, she tried calling me, the call was dropping, and so I called 911, and nobody showed up, but I did, with a baseball bat in my truck, okay? I'm gonna do what I have to do to protect my girls, and I don't understand. What is the triage if human trafficking isn't one of them? I don't understand. Last week again, early August, I called, there was somebody cooking meth. We were all, almost poisoned in our homes. I went in person to make a report. Nobody showed up. Like, what's going on?
Thank you. So the first thing I'll say is that when you make a report, you'll always get an occurrence number. If you call in, if you report online, you get an occurrence number, a number. When you go in, ask for a number. If you have a complaint about the level of service we provide, that number will help us address any particular issues. I will say, back to our staffing levels, depending on the time of day, I can tell you that the officers are going from call to call, and it boils down to the robbery call will trump the theft call, will trump the noise complaint. And now that isn't to diminish on any level the concern or what your daughter went through. It just literally may mean the officers were tied up in people in custody and other issues, and you're seeing that here. That's part of our challenge.
Well, it's super frustrating. Like, my daughter would have been halfway to Dubai by then. Like, what?
We share the frustration. This is just the reality is that that's how we triage. If any call in, there's always a response. It just doesn't come as quickly as we would like or you would like. This is just the reality of what we are facing in a city with an incredibly high workload demand.
So then I'm assuming I will not be punished if I respond?
You're, as a Canadian citizen, you are entitled under law to defend yourself reasonably, and you and your property. It's right in the criminal code. But the trick is reasonably, and this is a whole other town hall, but it's, but you have rights too.
And just to know that this is happening at the mall as well, they're recruiting for jobs, and they are not recruiting for the store. They are human traffickers. And your daughters may have applied for those jobs. I know because my daughter works there, and she was part of that whole thing. So just be aware. The last year of teaching, I spoke to everybody I could talk to, all the youth. But know your surroundings, know where your kids are going, and be aware that it's happening here in Sarnia.
Thank you. I'm just gonna, I know we're all pressed for time, so I'm just gonna, we keep the questions as tight as we can, and then I'm gonna answer as quickly as we can.
I'm just going to make a statement. Can I show you this? It's a little tall. Some of the people that run our motels are getting paid by our government to look after and house some of these homeless people. I went to help somebody. All he has is a bed and a moldy bathroom. The motel owner is not fixing the places up. And I don't know about anybody else, but if I had to sit in a room with a moldy bathroom, no fridge, no stove, no dresser, just a bed and a moldy bathroom, I would want to be high and drunk too. Would you not? Like, how are these people going to get themselves better when and catering to them is not helping? It's like they say, you feed the bears, right? They're going to depend on it, and it's only going to get worse. The girl in black, amen to you. But they're at King George School too.
Yeah, we understand there's a lot of social challenges to this. There's a lot of behavioral issues. We can only speak to the policing aspect, which is what we're here to try to do. But you're quite correct. These are some of the challenges.
It's horrible how they treat these people. It's disgusting, right? And then like you got Stevie Go-Go, and he gets pulled over because somebody had a cooler. I don't know the whole story. You don't go after people that are trying to make a living. Go after the ones trying to destroy what we have, right? It's a good thing. It's horrible. No, that's what I'm saying.
Hi, my name is Dawn Archer. I own a house on Telford Street, and one of the things that hasn't been brought up enough are our kids. Our kids are seeing people overdose in the streets. Our kids are seeing people use the bathroom in the streets, and there's needles. People are using drugs. They're using the alcoves in the schools to do drugs. What are you guys doing now that school's back in to make sure that they are not trespassing on school grounds? What is happening with our schools?
So that's a question that would start at the school level. That's where that begins. We respond to calls for service, and you've seen what we do. Like we don't have officers to station at every school. We'd have no one on the road. We just don't have the resources for it. We respond to the emergencies. When it comes to the prevention and the business owners and some of our school districts, there's steps that they can take to prevent some of those places. And it's going to take a team effort. This is not going to be solutioned by police alone. We can certainly be good partners in finding those solutions. That's what we want to do. But this is not something that it was within our power to resolve in isolation.
And another quick question. We've seen that it has cost $90,000 per month to have private security and bathrooms in Rainbow Park. In your opinion, does the security down there do anything? Can you tell us what are they doing? I know that you're not the ones that hired them, but are they worth the cost to the city?
It's a pretty subjective answer. I will say I appreciate the city trying to take some steps to resolve those issues. I know everyone, I won't say everyone, there are some that criticize no matter what approach it's going to be, but they are trying to find a solution for that. Security is cheaper than 2 police officers on pay duties. It's better than nothing, I will say, but the costs are immense, and those costs will displace.
Do they actually intervene though?
They're only security guards. So these are people that are making not a lot of money. These are people that have been threatened with physical harm in that park. We've laid charges in some of those cases. They have a very, very challenging job. We do work with them and speak with them on a regular basis. They do help us with, who's where and can you keep an eye on this or that. So yes, they are helpful. Are they a magic solution? Absolutely not.
My name's Peggy DeShane. I live down in the corner of Confed-Motlin, and I do want to make it aware, it's not just South End. I took my grandchildren for a walk by our park, and there was 2 making sex and another one stealing out of homes. It is everywhere in our city, and definitely way worse downtown. But my point is, first off, thank you for this meeting because it's a lot of information that a lot of us did not know. And to just know that there's way too many rules tightening the hands of the job that needs to be done. But I wrote City Council because I feel the old saying, you build it, they will come. Our homeless are not just Sarnians. They are coming from everywhere because they can. And I wrote every member of our council, Bill, Terry, George, and Chrissy, all replied, and not even a peep from any of the others, to make more places. If your hands are this tied and there's all these rules, what are you guys going to do when you're going to, 7 more placements that they're going to build? We can't. If you can't look after what's done, and no offense to you because obviously the rules are there, but to build it for more to come, we will have Toronto, Kitchener, London, everywhere they're shutting it down, they're going to come here because we're allowing it. And our officers can't do it, and they're going to wear the beat of it. Our city needs to take back our city.
Just thank you. A very quick comment. So we do have some individuals not from the city. We're not seeing the busload rumor that's out there, but there are people from outside coming. I can tell you from a policing perspective, one of those individuals has been now deported back to Haiti, if you followed that case. Our detective office worked with CDSA to make sure that happened, and I can tell you that the Sarnia Police Return to Sender program is also very active. We have driven as far as York Region to return people on warrants. We don't ask them if they want to pick up. If they say no, we deliver.
Okay, I got a little bit to say, so I'm going to try to make this as short and sweet as possible. One, thank you guys for what you do. Like I said, I couldn't handle doing a job where everything I do, they put back in the streets and screw you. So the thing that I'm going to challenge everybody, politicians don't listen. There's a couple over here that do. Brian and Adam, I know we can find you anytime. But for the most part, politicians like to hide away until they think the votes, until they realize votes are going to matter. So bug the municipal, bug the provincial, bug the federal, and get pissed off. Now, where you guys have to follow people's civil rights, and I get that, you guys don't need to be facing criminal charges doing your job. My question will become this: what about the constitutional rights of the working taxpayers? The people living in the areas where they can't take their kids out, they've all been talking today. That's bullcrap. You guys know it, it's not your fault, I'm not blaming you, but I'm saying we need change. And then I'm going to give you a little personal history of my family. I come from a long line of alcoholics, and the greatest thing I have in my house right now is a bottle of whiskey that is duct taped closed. It's got my grandfather's name on it, dated from 1970. He was 29 and a half years sober when he passed away. Now, as we Narcan the crap out of people, as we let them take over our city, as we let them do whatever the hell they want, where there's consequences for taxpayers and everybody else, the thing that they don't get is rock bottom. My grandpa was sober for 30 years because he hit rock bottom, and it's time to let these people hit rock bottom. We want our city back. End of story. Fuck Ford, fuck Trudeau, fuck city council. Get loud!
Hi, my name is Amy Spatafor, and I own Urban Escape Downtown, so I'm a business owner. We've actually been downtown for 17 years. Me specifically, I bought the business in 2000 and then was hit with the pandemic, which really sucked. And then we struggled through that to pay back big loans to now come into this issue we have with Rainbow Park. I just want to say I'm really thankful for the Foot Patrol downtown. I personally, as a business owner, have felt the change, and I appreciate the change. I'm very proud that I hire women in my business, and I feel that their safety is so important. My question is, why are we just stopping, why are we doing it for a short amount of time? Why is it not going all year?
the walking patrol?
We are going to keep it going as long as we can. The primary peak season is obviously when it's warm out. When the winter comes, there's a little bit of a less demand. We are entirely funding this on overtime and the availability of officers volunteering to work that overtime on top of their regular duties. So we thank you for the feedback. We know this is something we want to do. We're looking to see if we can reallocate more permanent resources there. But right now, it's just a matter of we need the funds and we need the people to keep doing it. And one of our challenges, frankly, is our officers are working beyond the point of burnout in some cases. So those light bulbs are running near the end of they need some breaks as well. But I'm glad it's working downtown. We do want to increase a more permanent footprint there.
Thank you. And thank you, Sharon, for mentioning businesses, because the core businesses in downtown or anywhere in Sarnia, those small businesses are the ones that support teams, the hospice, Noel's Gift. We sponsor all those little people, all those people in this community, and that's the backbone. So we got to really look behind our businesses. So thank you, Sarnia Police.
Good evening, and first of all, I want to thank you for putting this on. I'm Caroline DeCoco, and I believe that we are in a crisis in this city with homelessness and encampments, etc. I just wonder if, and again, we as a community need to fix this. We cannot keep seeing these increases in numbers. And one of the biggest disappointments I have tonight is we have here neither the mayor, neither the MPP, and neither the MP. And they represent they have been elected to be problem solvers for the community, and they're not here. And as I said, I'm incredibly disappointed. We need an injunction, and we needed it in April. If we had had an injunction in April, do you think that it would have helped to alleviate the problem that's down at Rainbow Park?
I think it would have helped at Rainbow Park. I think we would have seen emergencies in other places, but we deal with those as they come up.
So we are in a crisis across the whole city.
And many cities
Yeah,
face
many
the very
cities.
same challenges.
I guess as a community, though, we have to bring together the law enforcement, those who deal with social services. We did this during the pandemic. Everybody came together and they sat around and they looked at it as an urgent problem, not something to be delayed over and over again. So I hope that with this discussion, seeing that people do care and that we're here because they care about what's happening to our city, that we can bring together at least the collective of expertise. Oh dear. Collective. Oh, there he is.
It's a little distracting,
Okay.
but you get used to it.
Yes, but anyway, I want to thank you for being so open, and I learned a lot about the challenges you're facing as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So, from a policing perspective, just to give you an analogy, when there's a crisis, when there's an emergency call, one of the most important things that has to happen at that call is there has to be a leader. There has to be leadership to coordinate the efforts, to put things together, and this is no different than what we're seeing here. We have to coordinate across a number of different agencies, and we need a coordinating entity that's going to be able to bring those parts together. The police can try to do what we can from our part, and we are, but we're not in the position to be able to do that piece. But you're quite correct that this is going to take a team effort.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. Thank you for coming and trying to clear up some answers of what is becoming a concerning matter to the city. I commend our Sarnia Police Department. Sorry, I'm not a speaker. I'm going to change the subject a little bit here, as another form of policing is trafficking. My concerns in this city is the speed and the number of people running through red lights. Is this not the forum for it?
Okay, so I'll answer right away. So one of the things that we did in 2022 is we put all our resources on the road to deal with crime. One of the things we reintroduced this year is a traffic unit. So to answer directly your question, we have a sergeant and 2 constables newly assigned to the traffic unit. So you will start to see that enforcement materialize imminently. That has been the mandate. Deputy Van Sickle met with that team today, and that was exactly the mandate that was conveyed, that the citizens are expecting enforcement, and we're expecting it to happen immediately. That's the traffic answer.
And how do you feel about photo radar or lights?
The municipality decides if they want to do photo radar or lights or the red lights. Places that they put it does work. However, you're going to catch a lot of dolphins with the tuna there, just so you know.
Hi, my name is Brittany. I live on Cobden Street. I don't feel safe going outside of my house with my dogs after dark. There's constant undesirables in my neighborhood. They don't leave. Right now, my neighbor has people living in his garage. I want to know, who would I call about this? Like, who do I call to deal with these issues?
Any type of crime issue, you can call us. We'll deal with the criminality. If it's a bylaw issue, you call the city bylaw. They deal with the issue, and that's just a matter of where it goes. Certainly with bylaw, we have good communication with that team, so they'll flip it to us or we can flip it to them. But at the end of the day, it's got to get reported so somebody can start to do something to respond.
Okay, and also you keep saying that you're running on overtime. We have Lambton College, who has police foundations as a course. Could you not talk to the college about doing a placement opportunity for final year graduates?
Well, as luck would have it, to your point, we've instituted what we call the Community Crime Unit. We actually have a running co-op that we've expanded this year. 6 college students work inside our building. Their entire job is to address low-level property crime, shoplifting, thefts, and they have hundreds of charges and solves since implementation. We're just intaking the second group now for this semester, so we are partnering with Lambton College. They've been incredibly supportive. We are looking at expanding into our dispatch program in terms of co-ops, so we are partnering for those resources. Those 6 students and the exceptional work that they do have a liaison constable, but all that work allows us to put more officers back on the road.
I was just wondering where the drugs are coming from.
So I'll answer. So we are seeing dealers come in as far as the GTA, Toronto. So they come in, they get deposited, and then they're distributed in town to local dealers. So there is countless networks of where the drugs come from.
Do they get houses? Is it run out of houses? Because I would assume that people that are on drugs need to access them regularly, and you would kind of see maybe the network of where drugs are.
So our drug team is very active. Deputy Hansen is in charge of our CID, or Criminal Investigations Division. They have a long list of potential investigations to run. Just to give you a sense of a drug investigation, you have to have a tip, and then you do surveillance, you validate it, you do all the corroboration, you gather the evidence, then you apply for a warrant. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't, we're talking hours. And then you've got to have a team together based on risk to execute. So you've seen the warrants executed in town with tactical units and the other pieces, because if there's guns, we have to deploy TAC. So we're talking, we can do a paper a week maybe, reasonably, there's too many places for us to get to. If we expand the drug unit, we could probably do more, but there is, I hate to say it, but there's no shortage of consumption.
I just think that's the biggest issue.
You're quite correct. Underlying this issue, drugs, fentanyl in particular, is the number one source of the problems we're facing.
Thanks so much.
Great helmet.
Hi, my name is David Gillen. I'm born and raised in Sarnia. I have, I guess, a statement and a follow-up question to that statement. And you said that you're squeezing lemons and your guys are burnt out. How can you assure Sarnia is going to be protected by you? And have you ever considered getting the Canadian Armed Forces in a state of emergency to help you with this situation, to relieve you?
So the short answer is no. That's not beyond that's beyond the scope of what we would do. That would require a lot of municipal politicians' declaration of emergency. It's just last time it happened, I think, was the ice storm in Quebec. So that's not, I don't think that's on the menu in Canada right now, nor do I think the citizens want to be policed by their military. But that's a political decision. That's not up to the police.
I just, like, the military could help house, feed, give warming stations, have medical care, doctors. I strongly believe that they could help in a situation where you guys are falling short and the politicians are falling short.
What's that? Our officers are exceptional. They're doing a great job out there, and they can use the support. I don't know if the armies are going to be a viable opportunity for us, but we are looking, even internally in this budget cycle, for folks. So you see, I know there's certain corners of this conversation that says we're expanding our administration. What we're actually doing is looking at civilian positions where we can hire at a lower cost to free up that work from being done by officers, again, so we can put more officers on the road. We've done a complete review of our internal organization. We've restructured, and we've looked at different ways we can deliver the services at a lower cost and get the police officers that we do have out on the road doing what they need to be doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll speak to that too, because this has been a theme of a number of the questions tonight, and that is about resources. You know, how do we allocate resources in this community to meet the priorities that everyone has? And I don't want to be the guy that says, well, we need more money, but the reality is that, you know, police services have to be funded. And so at our last Police Service Board meeting, we approved a budget for 2025, and we feel that that is a reasonable budget that tries to balance the need for security and safety in Sarnia while also appeasing the need for taxes to be reasonable. And we've sent that off to City Council. City Council will consider that as part of their 2025 budget discussions, but we're very, very hopeful that we can approve that so that we can make sure that we have the men and women on the road to be able to address the needs in the community. Thanks.
Caroline stole my thunder. Where's the mayor? The sun set a long time ago. There's no pictures to take. Anyway, what I want to say is I've got a meeting with Bob Bailey, 5 people in our community, 1 being an actual addict. And we're going to go down and meet with him and try and discuss. Bob Bailey is responsible for rehabs, the provincial government detoxes, place to put these people when they want help. Federal government, provincial government for funding to help the cities out, not just Sarnia, Hamilton and stuff like that. They should be putting out a lot more money and covering some of the bills. So after we have this meeting with Bob Bailey, if we don't get any results from him, I've seen a lot of people here tonight. Who would go picket Bob Bailey's office? All right, so I'm going to post all the stuff that he says and what he's going to do. Well, it'll be bullshit anyway. But in about 3 weeks, we're going to protest Bob Bailey's office. And I hope 10 times the amount of people that are here tonight will be at Bob Bailey's office, and I will post it on my Facebook page.
Hello, my name is Robert Dickerson, and first of all I want to say thank you for Chief Derek Davis to be on the hot seat and answer all these tough questions. I'm a father of 2 young children. I live in one of these red blobs, and the more I observe what's going on here in Sarnia, I feel like I'm living in a dystopian novel. Sometimes there are days I feel that, and I mentioned it before, that we're going down the path of failing cities in the US like Flint, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, or Gary, Indiana, where it becomes so uncontrollable what's going on that the police at the end will be only able to respond to the harshest crimes, and everything else, they don't have resources anymore. With this dystopian idea in mind, would you say rather get out of here as a citizen has the means to leave the sinking ship of Sarnia and just like be safe? Or is it fixable still? Is there still a chance that we can turn this around?
Well, I want to say we're never out of the fight. I think we have potentially a beautiful city here. We've got some serious challenges ahead of us, but I think we're capable of meeting those challenges. If we can get the right people working together, addressing the issues, I refuse to accept defeat.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Steve Brazel. I've been a resident of Sarnia all my life, 49 years. I bought a house 27 years ago in the Northgate area. I'm a little concerned about the second 402 encampment and the church across in between. You know what church I'm talking about. Every time I go by there, 80% of the time the people in the bushes are smoking or doing something. And there's kids walking down Exmouth, it's 10 feet away. And I think the police can do a little more, even just take their drugs away. I went, and it's my understanding that's a County of Lambton run facility. I met with the mayor 2 weeks ago to chat to him about it, and it's run by Lambton County. And to me, it seems like a safe injection site because I went and knocked on their door and I dropped an F-bomb saying, "Do you not see what's going on out there?" 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's families going down to No Frills. There's family shopping down there. That's got to be cleaned up. The behind the fence is one thing, but when they're out front, you know what they're doing. 90% of the time.
Yes, I agree. And this is part of the challenges being faced in that particular spot. We'd like to be able to do more, and certainly we'll see what we can do in terms of being able to help. The people operating the facility are also part of the solution in terms of who's allowed to be there, what the rules might happen to be. So that's certainly something we can try to start the conversation. Well, I think we'll do 3 more and then we'll wrap up.
Hi, my name is Brandy Drillard, and I owned a house in the South End for 10 years, and now I live in the North End. It's everywhere. I was just thinking some of the solutions maybe we could think about is possibly bringing back some of the old school neighborhood watch and block parent with a twist, maybe updating something like those programs.
So the fundamental principle of policing is the police are just the armed extent of the community. So to your point, the community does have a role in certainly organizing neighborhood watches. I know the Heritage District has a very active group. 100% that would help out. So I appreciate that.
I'd also appreciate having a bicycle underneath my feet that stays there so I can use the bike lanes. Thank you. Hi, my name is Amy Davis. I have done work in addictions, and I've also done informed response on the streets in London. I was born and raised in Sarnia. I feel we need to get back to the basics. Maslow's theories are basic needs. People at Rainbow Park need more housing and addiction services, and we need to feel safe again in our community. I also feel that it would be nice to see you guys go back into the schools. I know back when I was a kid, you guys would go in and you guys would talk to the kids about drugs and street safety and things like that. I think that using Rainbow Park as an example of what can happen would be great. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Matt Mitro, former city councillor, and I did 2 years on the Police Services Board. Chief Davis, you've been a breath of fresh air in this community since you've arrived. I think it's a crying shame that the former chair of the Police Services Board and our current mayor, Mayor Bradley, doesn't talk to you. That is not your fault. Let's be very clear about that. That's on him. My question's actually to the current chair of the Police Services Board. During my time, this goes back to 15 to 17 that I was on, 2015, 17. And certainly the force at the time, the directors and the chief and deputy chief, everybody said the very same things you're saying. They just didn't organize as well and do as much about it. But the revolving door and all that kind of stuff was still prevalent. I tried at the time to say, okay, well, can we say something about what's wrong? What's really wrong is not we've got, poor police and they're not doing their, that's not it. It's the whole system failing to work together. It's now resulted in Rainbow Park. And so I want to find out, is the Police Services Board currently taking positions and lobbying directly to the upper levels of government to say, okay, here are the things we see are wrong, here are solutions we could present, and so that the ideas that might be talked about internally get presented to Bob Bailey, to Marilyn Gladu, and forwarded then to the people who can actually release the money to do the work. We need money desperately, and the solutions have to be presented to them to be funded. Just open question, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And yeah, you've been a great support for the Police Service Board, and because of your previous experience on it as well. I can tell you that I think as a board member, one of the things that I can do is to support a chief that does such an excellent job in this community. So I want everyone to know that he takes a lot of knocks in social media, but as a board we support him 100%, and my sense is that you do too, so we appreciate that. We have very good connections with both our MPP and MP and have ongoing discussions with them. We also have good connections with the Solicitor General, Michael Kersner, and he's been down to Sarnia a couple of times, and we've hosted them in our facility, and he's very, very interested in the Sarnia Police Service, and I know Chief Davis also has regular contact with them. So where there's an opportunity to advocate, we certainly employ that.
That's excellent. I hope that continues. I'm very disturbed what I'm seeing with the strong mayor powers being used against your budget, which is not your fault that crime's up that much and you're doing what you can about it. It's not that expensive. It needs to be addressed, and I think that's what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
My name is Melissa Butman. It's sad because the laws aren't working for you and they're not working for us. And it's a systemic problem. It is an Ottawa problem, it's a federal problem. And I have been reading just other countries that have not been successful with their drug issues or drug problems. Singapore is one. Singapore implemented the death penalty because it was, I know everyone's going to think that's funny, but when the death penalty, it didn't take many deaths to solve the problem. It was a few deaths that saved many people. So it's about thinking about the larger community. It's about thinking about justice, returning justice to Canada. We do not have justice in this nation at this moment right now. And that is the top, the things happen at the top and they trickle down. And we don't have it at the top.
I'm gonna give you a quick example of a case. Is that a BC, Brad? Is that a BC case, the one with the fentanyl? There's a person transporting fentanyl from BC to Calgary. They were stopped and they were arrested, and the court out west acquitted them. Charges were not successful because the drug dog didn't sit down all the way. 22,000 pills or something in that. So to your point, I mean, we don't have the death penalty here, but the dealers in particular, we are always laying the trafficking charge. If there's someone is a drug dealer,
yes,
we lay the drug dealing charges.
And in Singapore, what they do with the death penalty, if someone is selling drugs to over 300 drug users, then they look at that case and they say, this guy is a potential, he's a murderer. And we need to address this because we have children that are dying every day in this country. And we need to care about the children. We need to care about our society. And the thing is, it's that simple. It's really that simple. It is about the law. And the law needs to be upheld in this country. And it's not being upheld in this country. And there's corruption in this country. And we need to deal with it.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for being here tonight. My name is Tara Ferguson. I'm with the Sarnia Heritage Neighborhood Watch. I guess my question is, as everyone should be, what can I do as a citizen to assist you guys in this time of need?
Well, I'll tell you, the officers that are out there, them talking about me, I'm perfectly able to take a couple of bumps along the way. But just know that the officers that are out there every day, they can use your support.
How can we do that? What can we physically do? What can we volunteer? What are our options?
Honestly, it boils down to a kind word sometimes. The policing can be a thankless job, and we take a lot of hits, and that's okay. But those folks that are out there doing the job every day, they deserve some support. We can support them however we can internally, but those officers, they need and depend on the support of people like yourself in the communities. The Heritage District in particular, we've had great communication with them over the last couple of years. I think an active community that's engaged in their own safety initiatives and reporting that helps us. We see a lot of stuff on social media that this happened and the police did nothing. We reach out to those folks and we say, where did you report this? And in many cases, it wasn't reported. So kind words to help the officers feel a little bit supported out there at the front line. And I think reporting helps. And then also I think the community getting engaged, neighborhood watch, whatever you want to do to make your individual community safer. We're a support to that. Ultimately, the community owns its safety, and our job is to do what we can to support people like yourself.
Thank you. I also wanted to say one thing, thanks to Vader in the backyard the other night. That was our house, and he did an excellent job for his first takedown, so congratulations to Vader.
Thank you. Last one, here we go.
All right, so I have kind of two. You are going to go in, if you see open drug use, you're going to go in, destroy that drug, take it away from them, right? Not the charging. You are going to take the dirty drugs.
If someone is arrested, the officer can, if it's an arrest, we can seize, and then the drugs go for destruction. Then we put them through property and they go for a drug destruction.
Okay, so you are not, if I'm smoking, you ain't gonna take it from me. And
That's not what I said.
You're not gonna move me alone.
We will. What you're asking is in every possible case, and I can't speak to every circumstance.
Okay.
What I can say though is officers can, and we do encourage them, if someone is doing open drug use in front of a police officer, do something. But we can't be everywhere all the time, that's the problem.
Okay, perfect. So, when are you issuing the no trespassing orders?
We're not, because we're not the property owner.
So you have not been, I have had a meeting with police on Thursday. As we discussed the notice, council directed staff to issue. I cannot share specifics of this meeting, but the notices will be issued to those residing in Rainbow Park in line with the council direction at the August 12th meeting.
So I don't speak for the city, so we're a special purpose body, we're not city staff. We report to our police services board. We're independent in that sense. There's a firewall there, but my understanding is that bylaw today did issue some notices. That's what I'm understanding from our teams, but that will have to come from the city. It's not the police. That'll be a bylaw function as a staff of the city.
Okay, so you're not supporting the bylaw officers in that?
Well, we support them every chance we get, and they support us. But the responsibility for issuing the trespass notice is the landowner.
Okay, did the landowner go in today with trespassing orders for the injunction? Can anybody answer that?
There is no injunction at this time.
No, but it would help with the injunction. All I'm asking is, I got a letter, got an email stating that the police, bylaw, whoever is doing this. You're telling me bylaw did this today, correct?
I'm telling you the police didn't do it.
Okay, somebody over there is nodding at me. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's hot and sweaty. We've lost half the crowd here. That's okay. I appreciate everyone who stayed. What I want to do just in our final closing moments is I'm going to ask Deputy Van Sickle to speak to some of the changes in the Sarnia Police Service, because I think as citizens you see the costs of policing, you hear the talk about the budgets as the chair alluded to, but we don't often get an opportunity to tell you where that investment goes. And since Mike's been here his whole life, he's the best one to convey that to you.
All my thunder's been stolen with the Vader comment and my whole life comment there. Anyways, born and raised in Sarnia, grew up in Bright Scroll, extremely happy to be a member of the Sarnia Police Service. My entire career has been the 20 years of it with the Sarnia Police Service. I don't want to go anywhere else because we have an exceptional amount of people that work for us. The officers that come to work day in and day out put their lives on the line, as we're all well aware of what happened a couple weeks ago, for this city and for this community. So know that the people who are here to protect you do it exceptionally well. From that, just some good news to close this out. We're almost done. There he is right there, Vader. Some of the things that we've done in the police service over the last couple of years have modernized our organization leaps and bounds. Like I said, the 20 years that I've been here, the last 2 years and the change that has happened within it has been immense. Vader's a great example of it because for 25 years we didn't have a dog, now we have a dog, and that's a tool that our officers can use to ensure that they're safe, to ensure that the community's safe, and to wherever our community partner was there that commented, he did a great job the other night, got his first track and arrest, and we only expect bigger and better things to come. The chair alluded to a little bit that our relationship with the Solicitor General is a strong one. He came to Sarnia, he sat with us in our community room. There is constant communication. What I'm holding there is an international award for innovation within the policing world. Sarnia has been pretty isolated. Everybody knows we sit at the end of the 402. Maybe people know that we're here, maybe that they don't. The police service is on the map now. Every organization in Ontario pushing out into Canada and internationally. We had some people in from Salt Lake City the other day to talk to us about ideas in policing that they can use. So Sarnia is on the map in policing now. We're innovative, we're modernized, we have technology that we've never seen before. We're doing a great job out there for everybody. The community crime unit that the chief spoke about, there's an award sitting right there from the, is that the Canadian, no, Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police? Like I said, people know that we're here. People are calling Sarnia to say, how do we get the community crime unit up and running in the Big 12, Hamilton, agencies of that size that are saying, how do we integrate with the community to engage them, to allow our officers to get back out on the road and to do more of the police work that they do. People are calling us. And then the final thing that's there is the bell that was returned to the Kiwanis Center.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes get that wrong. The Rotarians are always there, so I kind of conflate the two. But anyways, the important stuff that we are doing, we're listening to the community. We hear all of the complaints. And that's one of the biggest changes in this organization over the last 2 years, is you actually have a voice. 20 years, I've been in 6 of these, and because they were in the last 2 years. So we are engaging the public. We listen to everything that comes in. We respond to every single call for service. We respond to, well, the chief does, most of the emails that come into our organization. You guys all have a voice now, and that's something completely new to our organization. So on behalf of the Police Services Board, the Sarnia Police Service, thank you very much to the Royal Skits Academy for hosting us. This was a great facility. Had we tried to jam into somewhere else, like the room over at the arena there, we would have been bursting at the seams, so this was great. So thank you very much for hosting us, and hope that we can come back and visit again. And then just the last thing, thank you to each and every single one of you. I know that the crowd has dispersed by half at this point, and we've pushed well beyond our 2-hour limit, but thank you very much for coming. It's obviously, it's important that you guys have a voice. It's great that you were able to come here and do this, so thank you very much for coming. Have a safe drive home, and we'll see you out in New York City. Yes, so I absolutely will. His name's been released, obviously, through the courts. I'll tell you, there's 2 officers that are primarily involved. It does reach beyond that. They are doing exceptionally well. Okay, so and thank you very much for asking for a physical toll and a psychological toll. I can't say enough good things about those 2 officers. They are legitimately heroes in the way that they're handling it. One's already back to work full capacity. The other guy's itching to get back, and he will be shortly. Long road of recovery. Thank you very much for asking, but they are doing exceptionally well. So thank you, everybody.